still only 35. I say only 35. I mean, it's a big gap. But he's still better off than he was 2 rounds ago when he trailed by 44. It's a very expensive exercise for him to lose 2 major places, let's say, whether it was going to be second or what. And he's pretty disgusted with himself. But he's in a very close bunch now, as you can see. Somebody with just 2 points behind him and only 4 points in front. So that he can gain places fairly quickly. But I think we're going to find that it's going to be out of Gabour's up at the front of the field. And
he's the man to
David Thorpe, yes. They're the 2, I suspect, who'll fight out the World Championship down to the line.
What went wrong in Sweden that went right? Well, let's talk about Finland, in which he did everything right. What did he do right there?
It's a very delicate balance in this sport between aggression to win and just do it well, and too much aggression and come off. And you can get varied track conditions. You see, you don't get constant track conditions. You get fairly constant track conditions in road racing. But in this, the track condition between the start of a 45-minute moto and the end of one can be enormous. The right line for a corner can be entirely different as ruts build up and so on. And so it could be a misjudgment of track conditions. It might be in the setting up of his bike. And it might just be that, as I say, Jeff's just got still a little bit to learn about how aggressive to be, to beat the others or to be among them, because he's got the ability to do that, but he's got to keep the package together, and at the moment that's slightly flawed.
Do we have a situation, as we do in road racing, where certain tracks are more suitable to some bikes than others in the...
The KTMs have been going well here, and yet Honda, of course, is putting in a massive effort into this. They're by far the most dominant brand of entry. Kawasaki's in there to an extent. Yamaha's just got one representative. And so there is a difference between the suspension characteristics of the different brands, the engine characteristics and so on. But to what extent they suit the different tracks, quite honestly, I'm not so sure on that, because of the enormous range of tracks in America and Europe and so on that are used throughout the series.
But the tracks are varied, aren't they? The undulations and whatever.
Yes. Oh, yes, you'll get a track that's quite a fast track, and another track that'll have great concentration on roughness and so on. And then you see early in the season, Les, they had several very wet ones that were real mud baths. Yeah. And that can affect not only different bikes' characteristics, but also the riders. Some riders don't go so well when it's so slippery and so difficult.
All right, looking ahead next week to the US Grand Prix, do you think Jeff can give that a shake? What's going to be that? What's that going to be like?
I don't know if he's actually ridden at this track at Hollister, but he's spent the last couple of years racing in America. So theoretically, he should go well there. He should know the track quite well. He knows American conditions. I mean, it's been his home for several years. Great mate, you know, of Eddie Lawson's. Been house guest there for some while. And very similar characters in many ways.
Why did it take so long to get into the Grand Prix circuit?
He was being sensible about it. He came back here last year, and he was the only guy ever to have won every Australian championship, 125, 250 and 500. He just worked his way up. He decided that if he got into Supercross in America and motocross as well, Supercross being that condensed stadium type form of motocross, that if he got into that and concentrated on that in a country where it is very big and very strong, if he could go well there, he'd be ready for the World Championships. And that's been proved to be true.
Very much so. Will, you've done a great job again tonight. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Lee.
Well done. We would like to know, by the way, what you thought of today's motocross telecast. How many of you out there are keen on more coverage of motocross? So why don't you drop us a line? Our address is SBS Sport, PO Box 028, Milsons Point, New South Wales.
We're nearly at the end of Devon.